What's going on, everybody? This is Troy Rawlings, and welcome to another exciting episode of Meet the. Our special guest today, coming all the way from Beverly Hills. We're actually both in Los Angeles. But this is an international speaker, influencer, trainer, and like I said, we're in a phenomenal season of the world right now. Whenever you're watching this, in that some of the people that I'm interviewing as of late, these last episodes of the Meet the, are giving you tools that you can use throughout the entirety of your life, throughout the entirety of everything that you're doing. And a lot of you have been wondering how you can break into the world of being a speaker, getting booked as a speaker, getting more business, and learning how to build your consulting business at a time like this. Bill Gates said that by 2011, the consulting business would be one of the most thriving businesses in the world, if not the most. And this young man is a prime example of that. Without further ado, introducing the man, Christopher Kai. What's going on, Christopher?
What's going on, Troy? As you know, we just had you on my podcast called the Gifters Podcast, where we're sharing stories to inspire the world. Thanks so much for this opportunity.
Oh, yes, indeed. And with the Meet the Show, we like to jump right in. So with everything that you've been doing as of late, what are some of the key things? Well, first off, for the people that don't know you, let's start there. For the people that don't know who Christopher Kai is, where are you from and how did you get started with your calling, I'd say?
Cool. So born and raised in New York City. As a young kid, even when I was 7 years old, I knew that I had some entrepreneur drive in me because my mom was a school teacher. My dad's a case manager, so not a lot of money laying around the house. And when it snowed, my best friend, Jocko, he was 5 years old at the time, would get on our jackets and our gloves and our scarves, go out there with a shovel in hand, start knocking on doors and saying, "Do you want us to shovel your porch?" And when you're getting paid $5, $10, $15, $20, what we loved was the corner houses with driveways because they had the corner home with two long sidewalks and the driveway and the porch. So we'd get paid $20. So at a really young age, I was very entrepreneurial because to make $100 as a 7-year-old is like making $1 million. So that's where it all started. But the turning point for me was when I was in college, where I was actively involved with student leadership roles, where I was actually giving speeches. And I remember a friend of mine named Henry. He literally said, as he's running for office in a student club, he's like, "I want to be like Christopher. I want to be charismatic." And Troy, I got to tell you, I didn't even know what that word meant. I literally nodded at him, smiling, and I had to look it up in a dictionary afterwards because I didn't know what it meant. And to know that I had this certain magnetism, this certain energy, and to inspire and to motivate people, I'm like, wow. And after I graduated college, I worked at American Express in New York City and Wall Street, where we used to build out global sales decks, which essentially means I built out the sales presentations that all of our team used to pitch IBM, Pfizer, Microsoft, Johnson & Johnson. So I knew in my mid-20s that I had a very high-level understanding of strategy, branding, and sales, but I wasn't a fan of corporate America. So I left that job in 2000, came out to California, wrote my first book. And when you write a book, for the people listening, you immediately become an authority. And when you're an authority, people will pay you for it. Now, 5 books later, this is a #1 best-selling book globally.
Big Game Hunting.
It's called Big Game Hunting. But if you look at the subtitle, it says networking with billionaires, executives, and celebrities, where essentially business is about helping and serving and making solutions and solving problems for people. So I go to these events where I've shared the stage at conferences with President Clinton or Elon Musk. I actually interview Elon Musk. And so people keep asking me, "Christopher, how do you get into these events? How do you speak at these events?" I'm like, well, I'm a business guy. I can't just keep giving free advice. So here's a program I have. Here's a book I have. Here are speeches that I get paid for. And same thing with speaking. If anyone wants to be a speaker, well, you can try to punish yourself for 20 years like I did, or you invest in programs or coaches that can literally streamline your process. So there are no shortcuts in life, but there are carpool lanes. So when everyone else is stuck in traffic, if I'm your mentor and your coach and your trainer,
Hold on. Literally telling you throw that one out there. You said there are no shortcuts in life, but there are
carpool lanes.
So no shortcuts in life. There are lanes you can go with someone, and they can help you. The
which is
fastest.
why all the best athletes, like a Kobe Bryant, who unfortunately passed away, they all have coaches. Now, unfortunately, people that aren't into coaching and trainers and mentors, they wonder why they're just like killing themselves. It's because if they're like me 20 years ago, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to give speeches. I'm going to create a website, and
Right.
no one hired me. 20 years later, I have people around the world hiring me. I just flew back from Saudi Arabia and Davos and Australia, not by coincidence. So I tell all my clients, don't waste your time. Just join my program. I have like lower tier programs and more executive programs. And the point is, there are no shortcuts in life, but there are carpool lanes. And on that carpool lane, you actually want a shotgun driver. You want a backseat driver, because I can literally show them bird's eye view, far back view. I can look at their various angles that they have no clue. Because the reason why most people are not successful, Troy, they think that what they think will solve their problems. But that's not how coaching. You have to have a coach, a mentor, a guidance person to say, you know, how can you know about how to be a speaker or an author? You haven't done it. Oh, well, I'll just read a book, Chris. Oh, you could. But if a book has 40,000 words, which words do you focus on? If I say, hey, Troy, you focus on page 5, page 7, page 17. These are the 3 things you need to do today. Next week, we'll give you another lesson, you know? But that's why coaches are helpful. And that's why I always hire people, and I go to people that I respect and admire, and I make my own investments.
Right. And another key thing, a wealth of information. And we're rocking and rolling, even though it's funny because I know Christopher has a timeline of what he does daily that's rocking and rolling. I was like, so you must not be married and have kids. He said, nope. I'm on number 20 today.
I'm like 20 minutes later, man. I gotta eat.
But he said, I do have to eat something. That's good. I'm glad. But here's the key thing you said. I like the fact of the carpool lane piece, because a lot of people think they can get there racing by themselves on their own path. And one word from a mentor, a coach, can transition. Plus, a coach, every good athlete, every good business person has had a coach. What a coach does is steps back and says, man, you're really talented. Why don't you stop trying to accentuate and build on your weaknesses? If you focused on this thing right here and added this to it, you'd be I believe those are the things that are the most powerful. When a coach can look at what you do the best, when a coach can look at the things that you're good in and say, man, if you just add this piece to it, because they will know something you don't know. And a lot of people don't know why it's necessary to have somebody that can step back, is not so involved in it, and look at it and see what's what. Now, when did you start actually speaking on the piece? Because I want to go from when did you start speaking and when did you start getting your own merchandise, realizing that I have to have some kind of product?
Well, I started speaking in high school in student clubs, and then in college on a much larger scale in front of hundreds of people, right? And then at American Express, I would literally train people in compliance of all topics, you know. And I also organized like a meditation retreat, right? But it wasn't until I left my job, wrote a book, that I gave my first paid speech at an all-black Pentecostal church in Stamford, Connecticut. I was sharing a story about my book that I wrote on college success. And the pastor at the time was also my coworker at American Express. His name is Desmond Hamilton. I'll never forget this. Give a speech, sell a bunch of books. I'm all happy. He comes out to me, Christopher, great job. And he gives me a check for $50. And I was like so happy. I've been paid $20,000, $30,000 for a speaking engagement, but to get paid $50 19 years ago, I was like, whoa, you can get paid to speak? Oh my God. Just like when I was 7 years old, Troy. To know that you can add value, be pure with your intentions, and they give you money for service, I'm like, wow. So it started off really humbly, but over time, again, knowing that that's possible, and that's the most important thing, it's possible, because I can tell your audience, oh, it's possible, until they believe it themselves. I don't care. Like sometimes people come to me and say, well, Chris, I want to make $20,000. I want to make $10,000. I'm like, dude, what have you done? Do you have a website? Do you have testimonials? Do you have a book? You know, and that's not most important, well, you can start off literally making money without that stuff, but it requires training, right? I got one client to make $12,000 on his first speech, only because I understand what they want to hear. I understand how to present themselves. He had experience, but the point is, a lot of people that come at me, the little bit more unrealistic one is like they think they know what they need to do to become a speaker. But if they're not a speaker, how would they know? I had a woman recently, actually, I spoke to. She actually makes $8,000 for a speech, which is pretty good. She's a PhD, gets in demand, but she's like, Chris, I just want to find an agent. I'm like, you don't even have a website. You don't have a speaking reel. You don't, I mean, so again, even though she's already making $8,000, why would a bureau or an agent care for you if you don't have the basic marketing tools? It's like going to a car dealer.
And how much more could she make if she just put in the key tools that she needs? She's making $8,000, but she could instantly double that if people could say, okay, we can hire her. And now I want to touch on this, and I know you got a boogie, but I want to touch on this. So Pentecostal church, a lot of times, financial thing, this, that, and other. Of course, in the speaking realm, because I talked to several of my clients about speaking, and I am myself in transitioning to the next level. So I'll be using Chris's coaching too. We're going to talk heavily about that. I'm serious. But transitioning, and this was a key thing I had to learn. People who book you, when I was doing comedy and doing my sex, love, and relationship forum, I may go and talk 4 hours like I'm Tony Robbins, get paid a very small fraction, which was good, $4, $5, $6,000. For me, it was great. Yeah, it was money. That's what made me say, oh, I have value. But transitioning from that to get hired by corporate, people don't realize corporate pays a lot more because they're building morale. And coming off of the season we are, I don't like to date the things, but March of 2020, everybody knows there was a worldwide pandemic going on. Well, when things like this end, most millionaires and billionaires are built. And coming off of this, employee morale is going to be in the gutter. So most big companies are going to be looking to hire speakers to build up employee morale. Now, you have a background with sales and American Express and everything you're doing and speaking and training. So, of course, there's some open doors you know how to do. But what would you tell a person that's looking, okay, how do I get the corporate gig that you can give a little bit without the training? Of course, you got to contact Chris for the full training.
Chris at christopherkai.com. Last name spelled K-A-I. No, but seriously, Troy, what you just said is so important. We are going through one of the most unprecedented times right now. But, oh, surprise, surprise, the wealthiest capitalist in the world named John D. Rockefeller Sr. happened to make his massive fortune post-Civil War. So for those who are not American, because I know you have a global audience,
right?
He was born in 1930s. Civil War 1830s. He was born, and then Civil War was 1861 to 1865. He started making his fortunes post-Civil War, where the entire U.S. economy was just decimated. But at that time, what do people need? They had to connect better, and he started learning about gasoline, and he literally built out this whole business based after the market collapsed. So for the people on this call, it doesn't matter whether it's an epidemic or a pandemic or whatever you want to say, you're a comedian, right? It doesn't matter.
Right.
Everyone that is successful, they look at opportunities. What did I do? As soon as it happened, here's the thing. This is literally like January, February, I flew 40,000 miles, Troy. That's more than some people do in their entire lifetime for the whole family of generations, okay? 40,000 miles. I flew to Davos, Dubai, Australia, London, Miami, Toronto, LA, right? That's just 2 months. And then March happens, complete stop. So in theory, I should be like, oh my God, my speaking business is horrible. It's crushed. Well, not really. They're going to postpone it. I was supposed to headline with Gary Vee this week in Vegas. Some people might have heard of Gary Vee. He literally built that at $250,000. I was supposed to speak again next month, so I have all these things lined up, but whatever, right? You can't control those things. So I have an online program. I teach people how to get paid to speak, not just a few dollars, a few $1,000s, or maybe even more, but it's about sales and branding. So I literally went to my Facebook community. I have about 120, 130 people there in 100 cities and 24 countries. I say, hey, this is your time to shine. You're a speaker. You're a leader. Everyone's afraid. Everyone's scared. Guess what? We've had pandemics before. Guess what? We've had viruses before. And so, yes, it's scary. I'm not going to downplay that people are dying, but we've had 8,000 people in the US died of the regular flu just this year, 500,000 over the world. So there's maybe about 12,000 people that have died so far. And again, not to diminish those deaths, we have 3,000 people that die every day from smoking related deaths. So it's because the fear of a scary virus, which will go away, and the whole media is the most horrible amplifier of fear that our amygdala in our mind is like, oh my God, I'm so scared. I got to buy toilet paper to wipe my ass. Oh, that's really smart. The world is falling down. I need to buy toilet paper, right? But your listeners, this is the time to start going online. The online training space is a $325 billion space, e-learning, according to Forbes. That's why I have offline programs where I do things in person, and I have online programs, which, mind you, just so all of you know, I'm new to this game with online. I only started this program 3.5 years ago, and I started my first one 5 years ago. So I'm not this like, oh my God, I know everything about online. And the first program, I shot it in my Beverly Hills office. I hired a fancy videographer. I had it all color coded. And then some of the clients says, well, Chris, I don't live in Beverly Hills. I don't have the resources. I'm like, you know what? The next program, the GPS program about speaker training, I literally shot on my smartphone, literally. And if you watch this program, you will literally see the sun going down because I wanted to prove a point. It's not about how fancy the production is. And again, maybe people are like, oh, crap on my program. Oh, the quality was horrible. Well, that wasn't the point. The point was I can prove to people that even with a smartphone, you can create a program to monetize and make money, because the most important thing is it's about content, clarity, and solutions. When you provide a solution for a problem, people will pay you. If people want to get paid to be a speaker, I've been doing this for 20 years. I teach them step by step what I did so they don't waste their time on things that don't matter.
I love that. That's all right. Content, clarity,
clarity, and solutions. If you don't have the content that you've built up through experience, then you don't really have the foundation of substance. If you don't have the clarity to actually share with you, here's step 1, 2, and 3, then just go on YouTube because all the knowledge is there. Well, many of it. And lastly, the solution. I can't tell you, Troy, how many people come up to me and say, oh my gosh, Christopher, you get paid how much for one speech? You know, look, this has taken a long time, you know, but it comes down to branding. How do you brand yourself? You know, you're a comedian, you're a radio host, so you understand that there's certain things you have to project to show that you have some substance. Because what's going to happen is this. Your audience, oh, this Christopher Kai guy, although he has cool hair, let me go Google him, right? If you Google Christopher Kai, you will literally see me speaking at Google. Literally.
Right.
You know, and if I say network with billionaires, you will literally see me with Elon Musk. And it's not just a photo op. I actually interviewed Elon Musk. So there's no better social proof by Googling Christopher Kai.
Elon was like, you know a lot. That's great when one of the innovators, you got to figure, Firestone, Henry Ford, and Einstein were around the same time. Actually, they were friends. Not Einstein. I'm sorry. Firestone, Henry Ford, and
Hilton.
Right. So they were friends and they were around the same time. But to think about it, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, and Elon Musk, we have those people in our time that's not far from, even though you still look like you're in your 20s. I don't know. I just had 45th birthday. But to realize that we have innovators in our time, we just have to be mindful of what their strong suits are. And before we get out of here, I want to make sure we're filling with valuable info, which is more than enough info. And people, I want you to make sure you follow Christopher Kai. Kai is spelled Kai. Make sure you follow Christopher Kai on all social media platforms. ChristopherKai.com is the website. His newest book, Big Game Hunting, but also, yes, Big Game Hunting. Now, how many books, and how important was merchandise? You were getting booked. It took you a while to get booked for your bigger gigs, but how important, I found out for me early off when I was doing comedy shows and we do the comedy run and it was grueling. You do 7 shows in a weekend. And I love improv and interacting with the audience. So to hear some comedians do the same joke every time, I was like, but that's how they make their money. But when I saw, and I think the first person I saw do this was a guy that did a show years ago called Crank Yankers. And he had all these different characters he would do with stuffed animals and the prank calls and all this stuff. Is Jim Florentine. And Jim Florentine came and did a show with Jim Florentine. And Jim Florentine sold his DVDs at the end of each show. That's each show was pretty much sold out. 200 people per show, 7 shows. It's 1,400 people. At least half of those people, 700 people, bought his DVD for $20. So on top of the money he made, he automatically made about another $1,400 or so. At the time, that was more than I got paid to do the event with him. And I was like, wait, he sold, forget the other. And I saw other people do it. And I was like, man, I got to get my DVD. I got to put my stuff online. You have a message, folks. The biggest thing, especially at a time like this, I stress to people, you have time. The scariest thing to me isn't that this goes on for 30 days and, oh my God, how is this going to? The scariest thing is that within another week and a half, everyone is called to go back to work. You've lost time.
Oh, yeah.
That's the scary thing. You had free time to write the book, to do the plan, to do that, and you didn't create something. And right now, the most things that are moving online. People are getting training. People are still buying stuff online like crazy.
I just saw the program just now, right before this call. I saw them last Saturday,
Yeah.
And so I'm going to leave with one final thing, Troy. This is the craziness about online. I don't believe anything anyone tells me because I'm from New York, right? I was like born and bred in New York, so I'm a straight up New Yorker, okay? So when anyone tells me anything, I'm like, oh, okay, whatever, right? Online, schmonline, right? But when I started creating programs, and with this current program, I posted a photo on Facebook on a Saturday, September 16th, 2016, 9:30 at night, worst time on the worst day in a weekend. I'm like, hey, this is my program. I've been doing this for a long time. Anyone wants to get paid as a speaker, travel over for free, and inspire the masses? Type in interested in the comments. I had 20 something people interested. I followed up with all of them. I made $4,000 from a photo, okay, from the marketing standpoint. And then when I started building up the program, I made 10 grand within a week. In about 9 months, I made about 100 grand. And mind you, this is with no marketing at all, because I want to prove, because not everyone has resources. So I always start from ground zero. So from the fact that I can make $4,000 from a photo, understanding the copy and the psychology and whatnot, and what I do for a living, and following up, that's where they're paying me for. And that's like the beauty of this world, where to have a program online that I did on my smartphone. So when you see it, you literally be laughing and joking that you literally see the beginning modules where there's more sunlight, and toward the end there's not. Because I wanted to prove a point that it's not about the quality of video, it's about the quality of the content, the clarity, and the solution. So with that, if anyone's interested, go to my website, christopherkai.com. Last name is K-I. Follow me on Instagram at Christopher Kaidom. So instead of Kingdom, Kaidom, K-A-I-D-O-M, Christopher with a C. Troy, thanks so much for your time. I love your vibe. I love your energy. For those of you who are on or in his community, you are one badass, respected dude. And hopefully you all know how amazing this guy is, because again, I'm a busy guy, even with this current stuff going on, but he had a great vibe. We're talking about jazz music and he has good vibe. And I'm all about good vibe because I can make money anywhere now, but I can choose who I want to work with. So everyone listening to this show, Troy, good job, brother.
That means a lot to me, Christopher. ChristopherKai.com. Christopher Kai, check him out. All the information will be below on the YouTube link, on the IGTV link. Thank you, Christopher, for taking time out and chilling with me today. We spent more time together today than I have with my little one. And she's looking at me like,
oh, don't say that. Don't say that. All right. Bye, Troy. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks.
Bye.